Welcome to the Sahawi Sessions, stories, voices and well-being from the heart of the Sahawi Valley to the people of the valleys. So today's episode is called 100 for a number of reasons. So I'm celebrating everything that's at least 100 this week, not myself before anyone says thank you. You might recall on the news and a special episode went out this week for Sir David Attenborough. He was 100 in the last week. And doesn't he look amazing? I don't know what his secret is, but I definitely want to know. He just looks incredible. And that really lovely exit they did with the owl and the fox and so on, delivering his 100th letter from the king, reminded me a little bit of the Paddington episode with the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, I think it was, where Paddington was having tea opposite. Loved that. So the Queen would also have been 100 this year, last month. And somebody else very important to me would have been 100 today, Monday, the 18th of May. And that's my father. And I'm going to tell you a little story about that shortly, which doesn't sound that respectful, but it's actually quite a funny story, but I shall tell you shortly. So what else is 100? Well, telephone boxes. Did you know that they are 100 this year? Give or take 1 or 2 years here and there. Generally, phone boxes were put in place in 1926. And there are very few working today, aren't there? So do you have one near you that works? Certainly in this area, there is the golden phone box in Ystrad for Lauren Price, the boxer. So if somebody achieves a gold medal, I believe, in the Olympics, correct me if I'm wrong, they get a post box or a phone box coloured in, painted even. So that was well deserved. Certainly, I had a phone box in the village where I used to live in Plymouth, in a little village called Turnchapel. And there's a phone box there that's still in use. So we've all got the number saved in our phones, and every now and again we'd ring it just to keep it going and keep it all ticking over. You know, we thought that it's very important because it's right on the seafront, so you never know when you need it, and you might not have a phone with you, particularly if you've been out surfing or paddleboarding or what have you. But I don't see many that are actually used as a phone box at the moment. What have you got near you? Does yours get decorated? I know in Turnchapel ours did, and the post box next to it with the knitted things that go on the top, which are really clever. I wish I could do that. I also know a few that have turned into libraries or book swaps, which are brilliant. I think it's really good to make use of them and give them these quirky uses. I think people, when they come from different countries, love to see what we do with these things and what they once were. And of course, Doctor Who's TARDIS started out as a phone box. I mean, that's what it was meant to be. Well, police box then, where you phoned the police. Certainly don't see those anymore. So have you got one near you? Please get in touch. I'd love to know, maybe go out and take some photographs of it if it's local, unlike my old one in Turnchapel. So the number as always is 074 970 79907. You can text, you can WhatsApp, you can leave a voice note. It'd be great to do that. So what else is 100? Well, later we will have a look at a quick video that I did in the Coffee Hub Cwmcarn, which is a new cafe based on the edge of the Cwmcarn Hotel. So it's sort of part of the hotel, but separate entity, if that makes sense. So you could go for a pint or you could go for a coffee, which is great. I went and spoke to some locals there, and that's coming up shortly. The Cwmcarn Hotel itself is 200 years old, so that's another century on again. So that's an interesting one to say. So I think before we go into any of the stories, a couple of things I want to just talk about. First of all, there's a bank holiday coming up, and a message here from the Aneurin University Health Board to say that if you have regular prescriptions, please get them in before the bank holiday because they may be delayed otherwise. I want to share that as I'm a NI ambassador as well, so I need to get that one in. What else do we have? Well, we have a shout out as well for Cwmcarn. This week is all about Cwmcarn. In Cwmcarn, we have the volunteer run book nook in the Stute there, and I've had a visit to it. It's great. I bought a book. It's got a really good collection of interesting books, and I'm hoping to do an interview with them very shortly, so keep an eye out for that. So going back to the Coffee Hub, we will be talking to them because they'll be doing some wellbeing sessions, and they'll be inviting the community there via the hotel and them together. Cumcarn Hotel, of course, is now called Fork and Tune, and there's some great gigs there as well. Let's have a look at when I went to meet some people in the Coffee Hub last week. This morning, I'm trying out a brand new coffee shop in the locality. It's called the Coffee Hub, and it's in Cumcarn, right next to the Cumcarn Hotel, now known as the Fork and Tune. Let's see how it goes.
There we go.
So this is the Coffee Hub in Cumcarn. Can I ask you all, what do you think of having this new cafe here? Woohoo!
We love it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, we love it.
Nice.
It's great.
Let's have a little meet
Good
there.
video.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
It's really good to have the community like coming back together again.
It's been a long time coming, and it's what we needed. And Vinny and Anya are the people to do it, so I'm super proud and chuffed.
Yeah, Becky and Kel, yeah. Growing a team.
And what's the food and drink like? I mean,
Beautiful.
it looks amazing.
Beautiful coffee.
I just had something myself, so.
Beautiful coffee, beautiful croissants.
Yeah, and happy like Beck and Cal are giving it a go, like. You know what I mean? I think it'll be like quite successful because it's needed. Like,
I tell you what I noticed as well, they've got a nice gluten-free range if you have any food allergies, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Perfect.
Do they cater for vegans? Do you know?
I think they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Got oat milk and apple.
Excellent.
they got great pots of tea, mind.
Very elegant.
Very
Don't break it.
No family heirloom.
I'll be speaking to them later about it as well, but it's good to sort of see an initial look at the cafe as well.
It's cool, isn't
Really,
it?
really homely. So the Coffee Hub is doing really well. It's just started out. So please give them a little visit if you can. And also have to mention Frothy Coffee or Coffee Frothy in the Cumcarn Institute as well, since we're looking at Cumcarn today. Coming back to those 100 anniversaries, well, here's a local one for you. So my father, who was born and bred in Fleur-de-Lys, did spend the last 30 years of his life in Herefordshire living, but he was always a very keen supporter of Fleur-de-Lys. He even wrote a book called Up the Flower, which some of you might have copies of. And he always used to say, when he dies, doesn't care what happens to him. He used to say, throw me in a bin bag, I don't care. Put me in the river, put me in the bin, I don't care. I just couldn't get anything out of him about what his wishes were. So this is really a warning to everyone that please have those conversations with your loved ones, because nothing is guaranteed. So you don't have to be, at death's door to make your requests. But if you want to have a specific funeral because you would like to have that, or your relatives would like to have something like that, speak to them. Would they like to have that traditional send-off? Or if you're comfortable with, and your family's comfortable with you going away, being taken away and being cremated and having your ashes returned, maybe some kind of party or even nothing, then it's your choice. But please have those conversations with your family. So my father did not have that conversation. And despite the fact that when he was nearly 92 and he was a month away from that when he passed away, I was still saying, what would you like to happen? No, he would not engage with it at all. What he did do, and he was very angry at me at not coming with him, is he used to tend the graves of his grandparents. Now, his grandparents were buried in Machen. They were very, very important to him because as a child he had double pneumonia when he was 4, and he was, in essence, sent to die with his grandparents just to nurse him, keep him comfortable and so on. But obviously they nursed him back to health. And he went on to have this very long life. He served in the war in India and Egypt. He was a local councillor. He did lots of things. So he used to give up every Palm Sunday to go to Machen to visit the grandparents' grave. Now, he was an older parent, so I didn't know his parents, and certainly obviously not his grandparents. And And he used to try and get me to go with him. And I'd say to him, look, these people passed away well over 100 years ago. I get what you're doing, but I don't want you to be under the illusion that I am going to tend those graves. Particularly as I knew that I wanted to retire to Devon, which I did and then came back. That's a whole other story. And I said to him, I want to be realistic about this. And there were lots of other forces at play as well. We had a very difficult relationship. Is my phone going off, or is it Oh, it's just a Howie Sessions phone. I shall look at that later. And anyway, we didn't have that conversation. So when he did pass away, my mum unfortunately had dementia. She was still able to make some decisions. She wasn't really interested in doing anything. So I said to her, right, do you have any suggestions about what we do with his ashes? Because he didn't make any recommendations or requests. No, she didn't. She wasn't really bothered. She didn't really understand too much. So I thought, right, I will go to his grandparents' grave and I'll sprinkle his ashes there. I think that will probably be quite a nice thing to do. He's not here, but I hope he'd approve. I spoke to his sister. His sister's a lot younger than him, my auntie, and she's still with us at the moment. Just great. Hi, Auntie Pat, if you're listening. And she gave me some instructions as to where this grave was, that she'd been with him once or twice. So off I went with a box of ashes to Machen. And I'd been in work that day, and I was working with a group of people that, well, it required a suit, shall we say. So I'm there in this bright, light sky blue suit and heels, which I cannot walk in at the best of times. And I had this box of ashes. So I thought, right, okay, let's find the grave. He'd shown me a picture, and it was a well-kept gravestone. Well, I looked, and I looked, and I looked again, and I could not find this gravestone. I looked everywhere. So I thought, the only instructions really I had from my auntie was that it was near a wall. Well, I couldn't find it. So anyway, I found a really lovely oak tree next to the church and thought, that looks like a good as place as any to sprinkle some ashes. Well, right now the heavens opened, pouring with rain. Wind started. So I say a few words. I just hope nobody could see me, because I looked like I was talking to myself. Anyway, I said a few words, opened up the bag of ashes, sprinkled them around the oak tree. Half of them blew back on me because the wind was everywhere. The rain was soaked. I was covered in ash. I was covered in rain. It was just not a great experience, shall we say. Anyway, I thought, right, job done. He'd be really proud of that. I took a picture of the oak tree with the ashes around, just in case my mum wanted to see it. I didn't think she did, and she didn't, so that's okay. But anyway, that's what I did. Made my way back, squelching with my heels through the graveyard to my car. And off I went. Anyway, I've since found out that there are two Machens. There's lower and there's upper. I went to the wrong one. So I sprinkled his ashes in the wrong graveyard and nowhere near his grandparents. I mean, I'd like to think that you'd find it funny, but I know he wouldn't. But I did my best. I did give him what I thought was a good send-off, just in the wrong place. So I am off today to pay my tributes to him on his 100th birthday, to go back to where I sprinkled the ashes, and then perhaps try and find the correct one that I meant to go to. And I'll have a drink for him tomorrow. But yeah, please have those conversations. What do you want to happen to you after your time? I don't think it's morbid to speak about this, because it does leave people being very confused. And, when we talk about well-being, I do know people that have been seriously affected because they feel they haven't had an opportunity to say goodbye to somebody because they chose to be sent away and cremated to save them money, which was probably thoughtful of the person. But there needs to be a compromise. Now, you can still do your own thing, of course. And many families have problems where they don't get on. If you have lost somebody and for some reason you're unable to go to the funeral, or you're not welcome at the funeral, or you didn't get on and you don't feel it's the right place to go, or there isn't a funeral, then you can still do your own thing. you can still hold that. I hate to hold a space, but that's what you're doing. You can just have a moment, think about good things about them, maybe look at a photo. I like to light a candle. Maybe buy yourself some flowers rather than take flowers to a grave, if that's what you want to do, if that feels better for you. Or have a drink, or their favourite meal, or go somewhere that they liked to go. Now, as you know, I take Yellow Rhino on the road sometimes, and I went in my van this week as a sort of a pilgrimage. I visited my parents' old home in Ross-on-Wye, which was bittersweet. Looking at things, thinking, they'd like this, they'd like that, wish they were here, and so on. So I've done things my own way, and you must do that too. But yeah, I would urge you to have those conversations. We don't all live a long time, and we don't know what's around the corner. So it's very important. It's also important to make your will. There are plenty of places around that can offer you these services. If you want to get in touch, if you provide these services, then please do. At the same time, if you have a story like that, a little bit of history, a funny story, something that's happened to you, or you want to share something about some good service that you've received in the area, then please get in touch. Also, if you run a service or a business that creates any sort of well-being or feel-good factor to the people of South Wales, then please get in touch with that as well. You can send a voice note, a WhatsApp or a text, or even call our dedicated number on 074 970 799 07. Now then, coming up, we will have on our next couple of sessions, we have got van life. So I will be going out on the road and interviewing people. Now, if you work from a van or you travel around quite a lot, you're a bit of a nomad when it comes to your work, again, I want to hear from you and I'd love to interview you. If you would like a shout out to any other businesses at all, it doesn't have to be wellbeing, but just want to say these people are great, then please let me know. And also I would like to bring attention to some workshops that are about at the moment. So Newbridge Memo is having some more sessions, wellbeing sessions on a Monday evening. So have a look at their page on Facebook, Newbridge Memo. They've got lots of things going on there. And I've done a workshop this weekend called Quietening the Noise, which was where we talked about the overwhelm that we feel. It was a little bit ironic because we only had an hour, and I felt that we could have sat there for a little bit longer or a few sessions talking about some ways in which we can not stop the buzz, as it was explained to me in the session, but the fog or the clouds that come across with different thoughts. We can't stop them, but we can note them and we can apply some techniques in order to help ourselves. So I'll just share with you before I go some of the techniques that I worked with the group. So some of the things that I suggested doing were box breathing. Pretty sure everyone knows what that is by now, but if not, it's where you imagine a square and you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. So you're almost making a square if you think about it with your breathing in that way. Another thing that makes me certainly calm my nervous system, everybody's talking about the vagus system at the moment. It's a little bit overused, but we can certainly calm our system down quite quickly by using a longer exhale, and it's something that I prefer to do. I breathe in for a count of 4, just hold for a second or 2, and then breathe out for a count of 8 and just hold for a second or 2. Sometimes when we're panicking, holding for 4 is too much, so I just go with the flow and try and hold a little bit, but then do a deeper exhale. And I find 3 or 4 of these really helpful in lowering my cortisol and my fight or flight mode. Something else which is visible that other people could see if you're in public, but it's still worth a try, is touching your fingertips to your thumbs, all the way from your first finger to your little hand back. And you can quietly get slower and slower and focus on that to calm your mind. And the other thing we spoke about were the 5 senses. Now, you don't have to find 5 things, 4, 3, 2, 1. It can just be 1 to start with. But you can do it with nobody knowing if you're in public what you're up to. And that could be finding one thing that you can look at that you see, focusing on that and saying it in your head, I see, whatever it is. And then one thing that you hear, one thing that you can touch, even if it's something reassuring to yourself, like your watch or a bracelet or your earlobes, something that helps you to focus. When you're counting or thinking of something you can focus on, you're not worrying about whatever it is you're worrying about at that time. These were some of the things that we looked at in our quietening the noise session. And there are lots of other techniques I'm more than happy to share. So if you'd like to hear more techniques to cope with anxiety, with overwhelm, please let me know. If you would like me to interview you because you can offer some of these strategies yourself, I would love to hear from you as well. So again, that number before we go, 074 970 79907. So it's a goodbye from me, and I look forward to speaking with you in the next session. Thank you, and bye-bye. The Sahawi Sessions is part of the Yellow Rhino brand.